Hi, this is James Gordon Ochoa over here with a graphic novel review. Today's graphic novel we'll be talking about today. Watchmen, written by Alan Moore and illustrated by David Gibbs. This was published. This was originally published by DC Comics between 1986 and 1987. This paperback, published by DC, came out in 2005. After I did the For Vendetta graphic novel, I knew I had to do Watchmen next, so I pulled it out. And reading again, I'm just blown away how well written this graphic novel is. It's very well written, very well written, layered characters. The illustrations by David Gibbs are absolutely breathtaking. It's very well drawn scenery. There's moments where as I'm reading this graphic novel, I just stop and just stare at the artwork. It is absolutely beautiful to look at it. While reading this graphic novel again, I still enjoyed it, but there are some things I don't like with it, and I'll explain that later on my review. And some of the issues I have with some of the characters, as there's some really despicable characters in this. But of course, there's characters that I really like, such as Rorschach and Night Owl. Like, those are probably my two favorites from this graphic novel. Overall, this is a very good graphic novel. It might not be for everyone. Like, I know there's some people that are not fans of superheroes, but this one is done differently, so you might like this one. However, the ending might rub you the wrong way, so give it a try to see if you like it or not. But overall, this is a really good graphic novel, and I definitely recommend reading it. Whatever, if you're a superhero fan or you enjoy reading reading dark alternate future stories. Alright, on to the review. Plot. In 1938, a group of men and women form a superhero group, Minutemen. Their impact on crime helps the nation. Despite their efforts to make their country safer from crime, however, problems began during the 40s with the outbreak of World War II, and members not wanting to get involved with politics. After the war, several members of Minutemen are killed in freak accidents, retire, with one member, Mothman, being sent to an insane asylum. The Minutemen disband in 1949. In 1971, U.S. wins the Vietnam War, and Richard Nixon isn't impeached since Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein have been assassinated, keeping the truth from being released from the public, allowing Nixon to remain as president. A new superhero group is formed in 1966, Watchmen, but it doesn't last long, with tension rising between the US and USSR, and both the public and police begin to dislike the Watchmen. Then in 1977, the Keene Act is passed outlawing superheroes, with only two working for the US government. The Comedian and Dr. Manhattan. All remaining superheroes retire, but one doesn't, Rorschach, becoming a vigilante. On the night of October 13th, 1985, in New York City, Edward Blake, a U.S. government agent, is murdered after someone broke into his apartment and threw him out the window. Unable to find a motive for the crime, they plan to write it off as a breaking gone wrong. Unknown to the police, as Blake is the ex-superhero, the Comedian. Later on the night, Rorschach approaches a gutter and picks up the smiley face pin with a blood stain that belonged to the Comedian. Wearing a trench coat, dark pants, leather gloves, a fedora, and a white mask with semiotic ink blot patterns that constantly shift, calling it his face. Using a grapple gun, Rorschach reaches the broken window and climbs up. Entering inside the apartment, he begins searching around and finds a hidden armory of weapons and costume. Rorschach believes someone is murdering superheroes, and the other members of Watchmen might be in danger. He plans to warn them while investigating this murder. Daniel Dryberg is chatting with Hollis Manson, the first Night Owl, part of the Minutemen. Daniel was the second Night Owl, but retired in 1977. After chatting, Daniel walks down the dark, empty streets of New York and reaches his home and finds someone has broken in. He's ready to attack the intruder, but sees it's Rorschach. He tells Daniel the Comedian is dead and he might be next. The two haven't spoken in a long time and used to be partners. As the two go to a hidden room revealing a large hangar with his own owl-themed ship Archie in costume, Daniel explains from what he's read in Hollis' biography, Under the Hood, that he reveals several negative things about the Comedian along with his ties to the US government. After talking for a bit, Daniel asks what happened to the good times. Rorschach replies, "You quit," and leaves. Rorschach then visits Adrian Veidt Ozymandias, once a member of Watchmen that became a very successful businessman. Dubbed the smartest man in the world, he wishes to build a better future. While he wasn't friends with Rorschach nor like comedian, calling him a Nazi and believes he was bumped off by one of Blake's many enemies. Rorschach leaves disliking Adrian, stating he left a bad taste in his mouth. Rorschach then sneaks into the Rockefeller Military Research Center to visit Dr. Manhattan. Back in '59, Dr. Jonathan Osterman was working with the U.S. government during a top-secret project to gain power over matter. During a test, Osterman forgot his wife's watch in the intrinsic field subtractor and was locked inside. The machine broke him down, then recreated him into a powerful blue being. Osterman was named Dr. Manhattan and is the only member in Watchmen to have real powers. He's so powerful both the US and Soviets fear him. Standing naked and working on a machine, Dr. Manhattan welcomes Rorschach. However, his assistant and girlfriend, Laura Jupiter, another ex-member of Watchmen, the Silk Spectre II, she dislikes Rorschach. When Rorschach explains to both of them that the comedian is dead, Dr. Manhattan has no care for him, while Laura is further disgusted, saying that Blake tried to rape her mother. Rorschach explains he only came to warn them that someone is going after ex-superheroes. Hearing enough of this, Dr. Manhattan sends Rorschach back outside, forcing him to leave. Later on that night, Laura goes out with Daniel for dinner as the two catch up while talking about the old days when they used to fight crime. A few days later, Daniel, Dr. Manhattan, and Adrian attend the funeral of Edward Blake during a rainy day. While a priest is reading over Blake's last rites along with soldiers folding an American flag on the coffin, each watchman reflects their past with the comedian. Adrian's memory of Blake is him mouthing off about the Soviet threat and not caring what happens to America as nobody is going to do anything about it, which discuss the other members of Watchmen. Dr. Manhattan's memory is him and Blake at a bar with the Vietnam War over. Just as a helicopter lands on site, Blake wants to leave as soon as possible when a woman appears wanting to speak with him. A woman he met during the war and had sex with her, and now she's pregnant. Blake tells her off. She's angry, smashes the bottle over his head, which Blake pulls out a pistol, aiming at her in anger. Dr. Manhattan tries to reason with Blake, but shoots her. Blake tells off Dr. Manhattan, stating he could have done anything to save her, but didn't, revealing he doesn't care about the human race at all, and leaves. Daniel's memory is when he and Blake were dealing with a riot. Blake throws tear gas into the rioters, then fires rubber bullets at any protesters. Daniel is concerned about the fate of their nation as it's falling apart with crime and the rise of the Soviet Union. Blake laughs at it, looking forward to it. As Blake's coffin is being lowered, Daniel tosses Blake's smiley face pin into the coffin before he's buried. Just as he's buried, a mysterious stranger appears, leaving roses behind and leaves. Unknown to the others, Rorschach was watching them and follows the stranger. The stranger is revealed to be Edward William Jacob, or known by his villain name, Moloch, a magician turned criminal. He was captured by the Minutemen back in the 40s. After being released from prison, he lives alone in his apartment. As he's fixing himself a drink, Rorschach ambushes him inside his fridge. Wanting to know why he attended Blake's funeral, Edgar reveals that Blake came into his apartment one night and was rambling on about some doomsday event and something to do with Dr. Manhattan, along a list of names, as Blake's was on the list. Rorschach tells Edgar to find out more information about this and leaves. Meanwhile, in California, Laura visits her mother, Sally Juspektik, but changed her last name to Jupiter to hide her Polish ancestry. Sally was the first Silk Spectre and wished to have her daughter follow her footsteps in fighting crime. However, Laura disliked her outfit, finding it too sexually appealing. While Laura hates Blake and is thankful he is dead, Sally, however, is not and still has feelings for him, which this annoys Laura as she is furious over what Blake did to her back in '39 when he attempted to rape Sally and broke 2 of her ribs. He was only stopped when the hooded vigilante caught him in the act and beat him badly. Sally was forced not to press charges against Blake as it would damage the image of the Minutemen. Blake ended up leaving to fight the Japanese in World War II. Laura doesn't understand what her mother sees in Blake as it's causing further friction between the two. When Laura returns back to New York, she is awoken in bed with Dr. Manhattan teasing her with 2 copies of himself. She's annoyed with him that he spends all day working and has no feelings for her. Laura tells him she's leaving. Dr. Manhattan gets himself dressed and teleports himself to a TV studio for an interview. Laura walks to Daniel's place as she wishes to get out for a bit, as Daniel was going to leave and visit Hollis. However, as the two begin walking in an alleyway, they are cornered by a street gang and threaten them to hand over their wallets. Both Laura and Daniel fight off the gang as the two are a bit shaken up but not harmed. As Dr. Manhattan walks on stage, the interview goes horribly wrong when a reporter begins asking him questions of his friends, co-workers, and his ex-wife, Janie Slayer, are slowly dying of cancer or have died, blaming him for causing their deaths. This causes an uproar with reporters swarming towards Dr. Manhattan. He lashes out in anger and makes everyone disappear out of the studio, then sends himself back to the Rockefeller Military Research Center. Upon returning, Dr. Manhattan finds a soldier putting a nuclear hazard warning sign on his door. The man is startled as Dr. Manhattan tells him he's leaving for Mars. Teleporting out of the building, his clothes fall to the floor. Dr. Manhattan goes to Arizona and enters an abandoned bar, taking a photo when he was human along with his wife, then leaves for Mars. At the same time, news spreads of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Dr. Manhattan feels he cannot relate to humans as he's too different and more powerful than they'll understand, and is tired of being caught up in the drama and conflict the human race has forced him into. Not once did John ask to become Dr. Manhattan, and blames those who forced him to become what he is. He plans to stay on Mars and not get involved with the human race anymore. This causes tension with the US and President Nixon, as without Dr. Manhattan they lose the edge over the Soviets and fear they'll use this to attack the United States. And fear anything that Dr. Manhattan has touched might be contaminated. When Laura returns, she is angered to see her things being confiscated and is accused of causing Dr. Manhattan to leave. Tired of this, she leaves and goes to stay with Daniel as the two begin to form a relationship. Adrian is about to leave for a meeting from his high-rise building when a man suddenly appears in front of them in the main lobby, then pulls out a pistol and attempts to shoot him. The stranger misses, killing his secretary. Adrian quickly grabs a golden ashtray stand and blocks the next shot, then smashes it into the stranger's face, knocking him into the Egyptian fiend water fountain. Adrian grabs the stranger and rams his head into the golden fountainhead. Security shows up. Adrian tries getting a poison capsule out of the stranger's mouth, but he swallows it. Rorschach goes to visit Ager to ask him if he's got anything else for him, but finds Ager dead as someone shot him in the head. Suddenly, police show up with officers swarming the apartment. Realize he's fallen into a trap. Rorschach grabs anything he can use as a makeshift weapon and fights off the police, badly injuring several officers. Rorschach attempts to escape by jumping out the window, but is caught and his identity is revealed. As Daniel and Laura become closer to each other, they believe that a conspiracy is against them. Donning their outfits, they plan to rescue Rorschach from prison and find out who's targeting them and what is this doomsday event. As they get closer to the truth, it will shock and disturb them to the core. Can they prevent this doomsday event from happening, or is it too late? Watchmen was a heavily layered epic story with a large cast of well-crafted characters in a dark alternate future, highly detailed, well-drawn illustrations along with breathtaking scenery by David Gibbs, who brings Alan Moore's story to life. Also like the added subplot of the black teenager Bernie reading a pirate comic with a newsstand salesman explaining the events happening around the world. All the characters we come to know within this story are very well written, layered, and each one with their own personality. Really like the characters of Rorschach, a tough and fearless man who wears his iconic semiotic ink blot pattern mask, and I liked his dark sense of humor too. Daniel Dryberg, Night Owl 2, a man who is torn from wanting to relive his glory days of being a crime fighter while trying to adjust to a normal life. He was a very interesting character and liked his owl-themed outfit, gadgets, and his owl ship. While I didn't mind Laura, a woman who is troubled with her past but begins to miss the old days of fighting crime. Dr. Manhattan was a difficult character to understand. While he is very powerful, but found it frustrating trying to understand him at times, questioned his actions, which annoyed or angered me. Edward Blake, the comedian, was a despicable person, does some of the most heinous things, and felt he should have been better off as a villain. It is hard to feel sorry for what Blake has done. In the few moments he has regret. I still hated this character, but by far the worst was Adrian Varda Amazius, a man who sees himself as a god with an obsession of ancient warriors who believes he can save the world regardless what he has to do in order to achieve his goals, even if it means hurting those close to him, murdering his pet cat, or causing mass genocide. What Adrian does is horrible and feels no remorse for his actions with no consequence, which really pissed me off. Well, I really enjoyed the first half of Watchmen, but towards the end it becomes a bitter pill to swallow. Wished Alan wrote a different ending with a better outcome and less frustrating. However, I still enjoyed this graphic novel for what it is, for its very well drawn illustrations and a cast of heavily layered characters. As for the 2009 film The Stadium, I enjoyed it as it's very well shot, solid choice of actors with a few changes that I liked over the graphic novel. Overall, I highly recommend Watchmen. Even if you're not a fan of superhero stories, Watchmen offers a dark, gritty, and thrilling story that you might like. However, some might not enjoy the ending as it will leave more questions than answers. but I still say check out this 80s graphic novel classic. It's definitely worth a read. Alright, that's our review today. Hope you enjoy it. Yeah, I had fun reading Watchmen again. Despite some things I didn't like with it, I still enjoyed it. I remember back in the in the late 2000s, I saw a trailer for this movie called Watchmen, and the trailer just got my attention and had this like really kind of like dark song playing in it, which was the beginning is the end by Smashing Pumpkins, which really goes perfect with the trailer and stuff. And after I watched this, I was really curious about it. I wasn't really into superheroes back then. I thought the only one I liked back then was like back in the early 2000s. I was like more into like Spider-Man, the Punisher. I did like the X-Men. So I wasn't. So I had like some interest in superheroes, but not fully. But then when I saw Watchmen, I thought, "Ooh, this looks really interesting." So me and my dad, back in 2009, went to see Watchmen, and it was an amazing movie. It not only blew my mind, but it also helped inspire my future writing, as I realized not everything is perfect. As some of my really early stories were like where it's like the good guys always win, the villains lose. And after I watched this, it kind of changed my perspective, and I started to begin to adapting darker themes to my stories. So it definitely very influential for my writing. And then after I saw the movie, I went out and got the graphic novel of the same name, along with For Vendetta. And both these graphic novels and the films would serve as inspiration for my future writing stuff. But anyway, Watchmen, probably my favorite thing of Watchmen is the illustrations by David Gibbs. The artwork is incredible. This is one of the main reasons why I really like Watchmen. So I'll start with the opening shot. This I really like. You got this close-up of the smiley face pen with blood on it, and then it begins to kind of zoom out until it reaches where the detective is looking down where Blake fell to his death. And then my other favorite scene is when Rorschach appears, picks up the pin, and then uses his gravel gun to reach Blake's apartment. And I like the artwork in this is beautiful. This is what really brings Watchmen to life. This beautiful artwork. And let's see, in this shot here, right here, on the left side here, when Daniel is walking home, like these images are like each image is like it has so much detail in them, and I just really like the series shots of like characters walking in the city and stuff, and like there's all this like extra detail in the background. I really like that. And then I'll show one more. Like I love the next part here where you got it's the funeral scene and it's raining, and then yeah, that's good enough. I really like the artwork in Watchmen. It's very well drawn illustration, highly detailed. I feel without David Gibbs' artwork, it would not bring Watchmen to life. Like I couldn't think of any other artist that could capture what Dave did for Watchmen. But the story itself is very well written. The characters are well layered, and the world is heavily detailed in this like dark alternate future where Nixon is still president. The Vietnam War, the Americans won, and but there's this tension going on with the Soviet Union, which is leading to a all-out World War III. And the little subplot of the teenager reading the pirate comic was a nice little filler added just to help the story flow. So just before going to the next part in the Watchmen story, it would follow these two characters, follow the teenager and the newsstand salesman character, explaining events happening around the world where I felt that was a really nice little touch added to the story. As I said, my favorite characters in Watchmen are Rorschach. I really like this character, from his iconic ink block mask that he wears, which he calls his face. His whole outfit, like, is just really iconic to like his brutal methods on how he fights crime, getting information out of people, and his dark sense of humor. This is probably my favorite character in the whole story, and My second favorite character is Night Owl Tool. Daniel's character, he reminds me a lot of Batman. It's kind of similar with the animal fiend superhero. Daniel has a really cool outfit. I like the gadgets he has and his owl fiend ship, the Archie, and then he's actually got I'll show this I'll show this thing real quickly. He's got this. I find this cute actually. his owl fiend winter outfit. I just like his winter owl themed outfit. I find it really cute actually. So he's got a lot of like interesting outfits, gadgets, and stuff. So this is like my second favorite character. In the story, he is torn of trying to from living his normal life to going back to the days of fighting crime, which he actually misses. And then of course later on, Laura comes into his life, and this character I didn't mind. I did find her a bit like uptight at times and kind of like fussy with things, but later on, as the story progresses, she begins to miss the old days of fighting crime, and then begins to form a relationship with Dan, which I liked. So, over time, her character got better. There were some other characters I didn't mind here and there in the story, but the three characters that I really dislike in this graphic novel are. I'll start with Dr. Manhattan. This is a character that I had a hard time trying to understand his reason for things. In the story, as it explains, he's very powerful and feels he is not related to humans and has difficulty trying to understand them. But some of the actions he does really annoys me or frustrated me as I'm trying to figure out this character, and the way he thinks is just really hard to understand him. And there are some times I question his actions and motives for, well, not motives, the reasons for what he does. I found it really difficult to understand this character, and I end up not liking him. Despite having all these powers, he doesn't really do much, and I found him kind of boring at times. It wasn't a character that I liked, and as I said, trying to understand why he won't why won't he help or do things when he can actually do something, and he admits that yes, he could do something about it, but he for some reason won't interfere with the human conflicts and their drama, and it really angered me at some point, especially the part where he allows Blake to kill that defenseless woman, which I was really annoyed with him with that and a few other parts later on in the graphic novel. Then the other two characters that I really hate are William Blank, the comedian. I really despise the guy. He's a really despicable character. I felt he should have been better off as a villain. What this guy does is absolutely just sickening. Some of the things he does it really just made my blood boil. From like assaulting women, beating them, and then the attempted rape on Sally, Laura's mother, which really disgusted me, and then it's hinted that he's done some other nasty things in his past. It's hinted that he might have assassinated JFK. There's a part later on in the story where one of the characters is talking about him, and he mentions they think he had something to do with the JFK assassination. It's also hinted that he killed the hooded vigilante, the guy who stopped him from assaulting Sally, and to me, I felt he did this to get back at him. And there's a bunch of other things that he does that really angered me, and I just really had a hard time trying to sympathize with this character, as he does some of the most horrible things in this story, and I just really hate this character, and I kind of wish Alan Moore made the character of the superhero that gets murdered someone likable. I felt that's what one thing I felt would have made the story a little better. Like, make the character a likable character, make it someone that these other characters care for, and makes them want to find out what really happened. But instead, Alan Moore kind of went with the opposite and made Blake this self-centered asshole. So he's the second character that I do not like at all. But he is this. But the other character that I really hate is Adrian. I really hated this guy. This guy is a person who thinks he's better than everyone and he's perfect than everyone, and has this strange obsession with ancient warriors such as Alexander the Great, and he feels that it is up to him to save the world, and whatever he does is right. There is no wrong in his action. He feels no remorse. There is no consequence to what he does, and the ending, as I said, is a bitter pill to swallow, and I was just really pissed off with this character. I really wanted him to die for all the shit he does at the very end of this graphic novel. It really angered me, and it's like he go at the very end of the graphic novel, like it gets into like his philosophies and him trying to explain his reasoning for everything he's done, and I just want to basically just beat the living shit out of this character, just make him die for all the horrible things he does. And of course, this of course leads to some other things that happens at the end, which I'm not going to reveal, as that would give away too much. But I just the ending I really did not like at all. That's the one thing with Watchmen I don't like. The first half of Watchmen is great. Like, it's a very solid written story. I'm enjoying everything with it. A couple of things here and there that I don't like, but towards the end is where I feel that the ending begins to shift in a direction I don't like, and then the ending I really just makes my blood boil. I wish Alan Moore did the ending differently. Like the outcome would have been different, like less bitter and more like satisfying. That's the only complaint I have with Watchmen. Like as I said, I like the first half of Watchmen, but towards the end is when it all begins to just go in a direction I don't like. But despite that, I still like this graphic novel for what it is. As I said, for the film, I really enjoyed. There were several scenes I felt they improved from the original story. There is a major change within the film from the graphic novel, but again, I can't reveal that, as that'll be giving away too much, and I'd rather you see that for yourselves to see what you think of the plot point that was changed from the graphic novel to the film. But I highly recommend you both check out the graphic novel and the film Watchmen. They're both excellent, both worth checking out. Alright, that's for the review today. Hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our Library, the YouTube channel where I post book reviews, book calls, and unofficial content. Until then, I'll catch you later.